So here's the thing about the Galactic Council. They mean well. They really do. But somewhere between achieving faster-than-light travel and establishing a functional democratic system spanning 47 star systems, they forgot that good intentions and common sense do not always shake hands and play nice. Case in point, the Universal Empathy Protocol. Some genius, and I use that term with maximum sarcasm, decided that the key to lasting galactic peace was understanding each other's emotions. Not through, actually talking to each other like functional beings, but through mandatory emotional screenings. Because nothing says trust like forcing someone to hook their brain up to a machine that reads their feelings and spits out a numerical value. Marcus Webb learned about this delightful new initiative the way most humans learn about galactic bureaucracy. A letter. Well, a holographic letter, but still. It appeared in his cargo ship's cockpit right between the coffee stain he had been meaning to clean for 3 months and the photo of his daughter he pretended not to look at every single day. "Greetings, Citizen Webb," it began. "Because the council was nothing if not formal. You have been randomly selected for emotional compatibility screening under the Universal Empathy Protocol. Attendance is mandatory. Failure to appear will result in suspension of your trade license. Please report to Station Kepler 9, Sector 14, Bay 32, at your earliest convenience, which we have decided is next Tuesday." Marcus stared at the letter. Then he looked at his coffee. Then back at the letter. The coffee had no answers, but it also did not demand he bare his soul to a machine, so the coffee was winning. That is how, one Tuesday later, Marcus found himself sitting in the sterile white waiting room of the Galactic Emotional Wellness Center, surrounded by aliens who all looked various degrees of nervous or confused. A Throbian merchant kept adjusting his 7 eyes. A Kessian diplomat was nervously grooming her feathers. Everyone looked like they were waiting for a dentist appointment, except the dentist might also judge your childhood. "Marcus Webb?" a voice called out, smooth and clinical. Marcus stood, grabbed his jacket, and followed a tall, bird-like alien down a corridor that smelled faintly of antiseptic and poor life choices. The alien wore a name tag that read, "Dr. Velix, Emotional Analyst, 3rd Class." 3rd Class. They had rankings for this. "Please have a seat." Dr. Velix gestured to a chair that looked like someone crossed a dentist's chair with an electric chair and decided both were not quite intimidating enough. "This will be entirely painless. The Emotion Scanner 3000 is the pinnacle of psychological technology. 40 years of development. 0.03% margin of error." "Fantastic," Marcus said, sitting down. "I have always wanted my feelings judged by something with the emotional range of a toaster." Dr. Velix did not laugh. His species probably did not have a concept of humor, or if they did, it involved complex mathematical formulas. He began attaching sensors to Marcus's temples, wrists, and chest. They felt cold. Everything in this place felt cold. "We have already processed 37 species today," Dr. Velix said proudly, tapping at a holographic display. "The Grexians register a comfortable range of contentment with occasional peaks of mild irritation. The Vendari show consistent patterns of cautious optimism. Everything within expected parameters. Very orderly, very quantifiable." "Sounds thrilling," Marcus muttered. "Now just relax. Think about your day, your life, your general emotional state. The scanner will do the rest." Dr. Velix pressed a button and the machine hummed to life. Marcus closed his eyes. He thought about his cargo route. He thought about the sandwich he had for breakfast. He thought about literally anything except the one thing his brain always circled back to. The machine beeped. Numbers appeared on Dr. Velix's screen. "Excellent. Baseline readings are perfectly normal. Let us proceed to deeper emotional mapping." Famous last words. The Emotion Scanner 3000 was designed by the finest minds in the Zentari collective. It could measure joy in increments of 0.01. It could distinguish between 17 different types of anxiety. It had successfully mapped the emotional landscape of every registered galactic species without breaking a sweat, which was impressive, given that machines do not sweat. What it was not designed for was Marcus Webb. The first sign of trouble came at minute 3. Dr. Velix was humming to himself, watching numbers scroll across his screen in neat, predictable patterns. Then the humming stopped. His head tilted. His long fingers paused over the holographic controls. "Curious," he muttered. "Should I be worried when the doctor says curious?" Marcus asked, eyes still closed. No, just a momentary fluctuation." The scanner briefly registered simultaneous readings of profound sadness and genuine amusement. Obviously a calibration error. That is emotionally impossible. "If you say so, Doc." Dr. Velix made an adjustment. The machine recalibrated. Then it happened again. And again. The readings were not just fluctuating. They were contradicting themselves, sometimes in the same second. The screen showed grief spiking to levels that should indicate complete emotional breakdown. But right next to it, determination was off the charts. Pain and hope were somehow occupying the same space. Despair was holding hands with something the machine could only label as stubborn refusal to give up. "This is not possible," Dr. Velix said, louder now. He was tapping frantically at his controls. "The emotional spectrum does not work this way. You cannot feel opposite emotions simultaneously. That violates basic psychological principles." "Maybe your principles need better lawyers," Marcus said. A crowd was forming. Other doctors, researchers, even a few council members who happened to be touring the facility. They gathered around Dr. Velix's screen like it was showing a sporting event, which in a way, it was. The sport was watching expensive technology have a nervous breakdown. "Look at this," Dr. Velix was saying to anyone who would listen, pointing at the cascading data. "The human is registering level 9 grief, level 9. That should be debilitating. But his productivity markers are normal. His social function indicators are normal. How is he functioning?" "Coffee, mostly," Marcus offered helpfully. A Grexian researcher leaned in, her 3 eyes widening. "I have never seen readings layer like this. It is like he is feeling everything at once, but also nothing is overwhelming everything else. That should not compute." "It is not computing," Dr. Velix said, his voice climbing an octave. "The scanner is trying to categorize his emotional state, but every time it does, the human shifts into something else. No, wait. He is not shifting. He is somehow existing in multiple emotional states at the same time." The machine made a sound it definitely was not supposed to make, a sort of whirring, grinding noise that made everyone take a step back except Marcus, who was still sitting there, perfectly calm. "Is it supposed to smoke?" someone asked. "No," Dr. Velix said quietly. "No, it is absolutely not supposed to smoke." Marcus opened one eye. "Should I be concerned?" "The scanner is attempting to map a memory," Dr. Velix said, staring at his screen like it had personally betrayed him. "Something about a significant loss, but the readings are incomprehensible. You are remembering something tragic, yes?" "Yeah," Marcus said simply. "But you are also remembering it with affection and humor and regret, but also acceptance. And the pain is lessening but also somehow getting stronger. That is not how memory works. That is not how any of this works." Marcus shrugged. "Welcome to being human, I guess." The machine beeped again, more insistently now. Error messages were popping up across multiple screens. Other scanners in adjacent rooms were picking up interference. Somewhere down the hall, someone was yelling about cascading system failures. Dr. Velix looked at Marcus, then at his machine, then back at Marcus. For the first time since this appointment started, the unflappable doctor looked genuinely shaken. "What are you?" he whispered. Marcus smiled. It was not a happy smile, but it was not a sad one either. It was something in between, something complicated, something the Emotion Scanner 3000 would never understand in its 40 years of development. Just a guy who has had a bad decade, Doc. Just a guy. The Emotion Scanner 3000 was no longer scanning. It was having what could only be described as an existential crisis, which was impressive for a machine that technically did not exist. Red lights were flashing. Warning klaxons were blaring. 3 more doctors had joined the growing crowd around Marcus's chair, and they were all arguing in at least 5 different languages. The universal translator was working overtime, and even it sounded stressed. Shut it down, someone was saying. We cannot shut it down mid-scan. That could damage the subject, Dr. Velix countered. The subject looks fine. Your machine looks like it is about to achieve sentience just to file a complaint. Marcus sat in the middle of this chaos like a man waiting for a bus. He had not moved, had not panicked, was mostly wondering if this meant he would miss his cargo delivery window and lose his deposit. The scanner's AI was doing something unprecedented. It was trying to create new categories. The screen showed it generating labels in real time: complicated grief, functional sadness, aggressive nostalgia, weaponized sentimentality. None of them were sticking. Every time the AI thought it understood what Marcus was feeling, 5 more contradictory emotions would pop up. Explain something to me, Dr. Velix said, turning away from his dying machine to face Marcus directly. You lost someone. The scanner is clear on that. A child. Your daughter. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he nodded. That level of grief should be consuming. All of our models, every species we have studied, grief of that magnitude creates dysfunction, depression, withdrawal, inability to continue normal activities. But you are a cargo pilot. You work, you function. You made a joke 17 minutes ago. How? You want the honest answer or the one that will make your machine feel better? I want to understand. Marcus was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, softer but with an edge that could cut. Her name was Lily. She was 8. Leukemia. The kind that even with all our fancy space medicine, all our technology, we could not fix. I sat with her for 6 months watching her get smaller, watching her smile get harder to find. And on the last day, you know what she said to me? No one spoke. The alarms had gone quiet. Even the machine seemed to be listening. She said, Dad, do not be boring after I am gone. She was 8 years old, dying, and she was worried I would be boring. So I made her a promise. I would not stop, would not quit, would not let it break me into something useless. Dr. Velix was staring at his screen. The readings were spiking again, but different this time. But you did break. Oh, I shattered, Doc. I absolutely shattered. I still am every single day. But here is the thing your machine does not get. Humans do not break clean. We break into 1,000 pieces, and then we pick up those pieces and we keep walking. We carry the weight. We carry the pain. We carry the memories. And yeah, sometimes we laugh, because if we did not laugh, we would scream. And sometimes we do both at the same time. The machine made a sound like a sigh, if machines could sigh. The AI was trying to process this, trying to understand how someone could be simultaneously destroyed and functional, broken and whole, drowning and swimming. A Vendari counselor, her scales shimmering with concern, spoke up. But this is torture. Why do you do this to yourselves? My species processes loss through meditation and release. We let go. We move forward. We do not carry the pain. Because the pain is all I have left of her, Marcus said simply. You let go, you move forward, that is great. Works for you. But if I let go of the grief, I let go of her. And I am not ready to do that. Maybe I will never be ready. So I carry it. I make it useful, I make it fuel. And yeah, it hurts. It hurts every single day. But it is my hurt. And it is my choice. The room was silent except for the machine, which was now scrolling through human literature, music, and art history, trying desperately to find a framework. It found thousands of sad songs, millions of tragic stories, countless memorials and monuments. It found humans who turned loss into activism, pain into poetry, grief into entire movements. The AI was not understanding. It was drowning in data that all pointed to one impossible conclusion. Humans do not process grief. They weaponize it. Dr. Velix sat down heavily in a chair. Your entire species is emotionally indestructible. No, Marcus corrected. We are emotionally insane. There is a difference. The machine made one final, desperate attempt to categorize what it was reading. The screen flashed through 100 different labels before finally settling on one. Error. Emotional matrix too complex. Human standard. Then it shut down completely. Well, Marcus said into the silence, does this mean I pass? Dr. Velix looked like someone had just explained that gravity was optional, and the universe had been running on the honor system this whole time. He was standing in front of his very expensive, very dead scanner, holding a datapad like it might have answers. It did not have answers. Nothing had answers when it came to humans. Let me see if I understand this correctly, he said slowly, the way someone might explain algebra to a particularly dense rock. You carry emotional pain intentionally. You do not seek to minimize it or resolve it. You integrate it into your personality and use it as motivation. This is normal for your species. Pretty much, Marcus said. He had finally been unhooked from the machine and was stretching his arms. Though we also have a whole industry of therapy and self-help books, so it is not like we are great at it. But you just said you choose to keep the pain. Yeah, but we also want to feel better about choosing to keep the pain. It is complicated. A Throbian diplomat who had been listening from the back raised one of his 7 hands. This makes no sense. Pain is a warning signal, an indicator of damage. You do not keep warning signals active. You fix the problem and the signal stops. Marcus laughed. It was not a happy laugh. You cannot fix dead, buddy. There is no repair protocol for that. So we do the next best thing. We carry our dead with us. In memories, in habits, in the way we live our lives. My daughter loved terrible jokes, I mean truly awful puns that would make you want to file a complaint with the humor police. So now I tell terrible jokes. It keeps her close. Dr. Velix was typing frantically on his datapad. So human grief is performative? No, yes, sort of. It is not about performance, it is about connection. We tell stories about the people we lost. We keep their traditions. We visit their graves and talk to them even though they cannot hear us, or maybe they can. We have not really settled that debate. The point is, we refuse to let them be completely gone. The Vendari counselor from earlier shook her head, her scales rippling with confusion. But they are gone. That is the definition of death. Accepting reality is the first step of processing loss. Oh, we accept reality, Marcus said. We just also give reality the finger and do what we want anyway. That is kind of our thing. Dr. Velix turned to address the room, which had grown to include at least 20 different species, all looking equally baffled. Does anyone else here process grief this way? Anyone? Show of hands, tentacles, appendages, whatever you have. Silence. A few awkward looks. A Kessian in the back coughed. Right, Dr. Velix said. So this is uniquely human. Wonderful. Let me catalog this for the record. When a Zentari loses someone, we hold a ceremony, we acknowledge the loss, we spend 3 days in contemplation, and then we move forward, clean, orderly, psychologically sound. Sounds boring, Marcus said. It is not boring, it is healthy. When a Grexian experiences loss, we share memories with our hive mind, distribute the grief across the collective, and no single individual has to bear the full weight. Efficient. Logical. Sounds lonely. Dr. Velix's feathers ruffled. When a Throbian loses a mate, they enter a mourning phase that lasts exactly 30 days, after which cultural expectations require them to begin seeking a new mate. Structured. Predictable. Sounds like you are speedrunning feelings, and I am not sure that is the flex you think it is. The doctor threw his hands up. So, what is the human way? Carry the pain forever? Never move on? Just walk around emotionally wounded for the rest of your lives? Marcus considered this. Kind of, yeah. Except we do not see it as wounded. We see it as proof we loved something enough to miss it. The pain is the receipt for caring. And sure, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But the alternative is not caring, and that sucks worse. A young Zentari researcher, barely old enough to have her 3rd-class certification, spoke up hesitantly. But how do you function? Our models show that sustained grief impairs decision-making, reduces productivity, impacts physical health. How are humans not extinct from collective sadness? Coffee, Marcus said immediately. Also spite. Never underestimate what humans can accomplish when we are mildly annoyed at the universe. We have built empires out of spite. We have crossed oceans out of spite. We have cured diseases because we were personally offended they existed. Grief is just another thing we refuse to let beat us. Dr. Velix was reading something on his data pad, his expression growing more horrified by the second. I am looking at human art, music specifically. You have an entire genre called blues that is just songs about being sad. You have country music, which appears to be songs about being sad in a truck. You have opera, which is being sad but louder and in Italian. Why would you create art about suffering? Because it helps, Marcus said simply. Someone sings a sad song, and suddenly you are not alone in your sadness. Someone writes a sad book and you realize your pain is not unique or strange. It is universal. It connects us. That is the most depressing form of connection I have ever heard. And yet, here I am, still kicking, still working, still occasionally enjoying a good sandwich. That is the human trick, Doc. We do not choose between grief and joy. We do not process one to get to the other. We just hold both at the same time and stumble forward, hoping we do not trip over our own feelings. The room was quiet. Every species represented was trying to reconcile what they were hearing with their own understanding of psychology, and none of it was matching up. Finally, Dr. Velix looked at Marcus with something that might have been respect, or possibly fear. Your species is exhausting. Tell me about it. I have to be us every single day. The emotion scanner 3000 had been offline for approximately 11 minutes when someone made the catastrophic decision to reboot it. In their defense, it was a very expensive piece of equipment, and simply declaring it dead because one human broke it seemed fiscally irresponsible. That defense lasted exactly 45 seconds before everyone realized that turning it back on was the worst idea, since someone decided to poke the first black hole with a stick to see what would happen. The machine came back online with what could only be described as determination. Its AI had not forgotten Marcus. It had not moved on. It had not processed. Instead, it had apparently spent its downtime doing research, and like many things that do research on humans, it was now having regrets. Oh no, Dr. Velix said, watching his screen light up with cascading data streams. Oh no. What? Marcus asked. He had been about to leave, 1 foot already out the door, when the machine powered back up and immediately locked onto him like a missile system acquiring a target. The AI is pulling reference materials, human cultural database, literature, music, historical records. I think it is trying to understand you. That seems ambitious. The machine was not just pulling data, it was analyzing patterns, cross-referencing, building models. And with every piece of information it processed, its confusion seemed to grow exponentially. On the main screen, files were opening and closing at rapid speed. Shakespeare's tragedies, blues music from Earth's 20th century, the entire history of human memorial architecture, war poetry, country songs about trucks and heartbreak, opera, the complete works of every sad songwriter who had ever existed, therapy journals, self-help books that contradicted each other, entire philosophical movements dedicated to understanding suffering. Why? The machine's synthesized voice suddenly spoke, startling everyone in the room. Why do humans write sad songs? Dr. Velix looked at Marcus. Marcus shrugged. Because we like them. Illogical. Pain avoidance is a fundamental survival trait. You should avoid stimuli that cause emotional distress. Yeah, but sad songs do not cause distress. They acknowledge it. There is a difference. The machine processed this, rejected it, tried again. Explain the function of human memorials. You build permanent structures to commemorate loss. This keeps the memory of the loss active indefinitely. This is counterproductive to moving forward. A Grexian researcher tried to help. Perhaps they are warning markers? To remember dangerous events? No, Marcus said. They are to remember people, places, things we do not want to forget, even if remembering hurts. But why? The machine asked, and there was something almost desperate in its synthesized tone. Why preserve pain? The Zentari remember their dead through genetic memory. The Vendari store consciousness impressions. The Throbians keep historical records, all functional, all organized, none intentionally painful. Human methods appear designed to maximize emotional damage. Marcus walked back to the chair and sat down. Okay, you want to understand? Really understand? Here it is. When my daughter died, a part of me died with her. That is not metaphorical. That is literal. The version of me that was her dad, that told her bedtime stories, that braided her hair badly, and made her laugh about it, that version died. He is gone. Dead as she is. The machine was silent, processing. But here is the thing. I do not want him to be gone. I want to remember being that person even though it hurts. Especially because it hurts. Because the hurt means it mattered. The hurt is proof that she was real. That what we had was real. That I was lucky enough to have something worth missing. The AI tried to categorize this. Failed. Tried again. You are choosing suffering to validate memory. No. I am accepting suffering because it is part of the package deal. You do not get to love people without eventually losing them. That is the contract. And yeah, the losing part destroys you. But humans decided a long time ago that being destroyed by love is better than never loving at all. Files were exploding across the screen now. The machine had found human philosophy, existentialism, stoicism, every school of thought that had ever tackled the question of suffering, and they all contradicted each other. Some said, embrace the pain. Some said, minimize it. Some said, transcend it. Some said, use it. Humans could not even agree among themselves how to handle grief. They just all agreed it was important to handle it somehow. Your species is inconsistent, the machine said. Yep. Your emotional processing is contradictory. Sure is. Your methods for coping with loss are varied to the point of being individually customized. Everyone grieves differently, yeah. This is chaos. Welcome to humanity. Population? Too many. And we are all winging it. The machine went quiet. Numbers scrolled across screens. The AI was running simulations, trying to predict human emotional responses to loss. Every simulation came back different. There was no pattern, no formula, no equation that could capture how one human might respond versus another. Some humans threw themselves into work, some withdrew. Some created art, some destroyed art. Some traveled the galaxy, some never left home. Some talked endlessly about their loss. Some never spoke of it again. And somehow, all of these responses were valid. All of them were human. I cannot categorize this, the machine finally said. No, Marcus agreed. You really cannot. The Universal Empathy Protocol requires standardized emotional mapping. Then the Universal Empathy Protocol has a human-shaped problem. Dr. Velix was staring at his screen like it had personally betrayed him for the second time that day. The scanner is recommending we create a separate classification for human emotional processing. It is suggesting the current framework is insufficient. I could have told you that and saved you a broken machine, Marcus said. The AI made one final attempt. Human designated Marcus Webb. Do you require psychological intervention? Marcus thought about it. Probably. Most humans do at some point. But not because I am grieving. Grief is not a malfunction, it is just part of the operating system. That is the least reassuring thing I have ever heard, Dr. Velix muttered. The machine flickered once, twice, then displayed a single message across every screen in the facility. Human Emotional Matrix. Functional Chaos. Recommend individual assessment. Standard protocols insufficient. Update required. Then it shut down again. This time it felt permanent. 3 days after the Emotion Scanner 3000 decided humans were too much work, Marcus received another letter. This one was shorter. Dear Citizen Webb, thank you for your participation in the Universal Empathy Protocol. After careful consideration, the Galactic Council has decided to exempt humans from mandatory emotional screening pending further research. Your trade license has been reinstated. Please disregard all previous notices. We apologize for any inconvenience. Marcus read it twice, then laughed. It was the first real, unguarded laugh he had managed in years. They had given up. The entire Galactic Council, with all their technology and their protocols and their need to quantify everything, had taken one look at human grief and said no thank you. He was back on his ship preparing for a cargo run to the outer rim when his console chirped. Incoming call. Dr. Velix. Marcus considered ignoring it, but curiosity won. Doc, what can I do for you? Dr. Velix appeared on screen. He looked tired. I wanted to follow up. Professional courtesy. Your machine still dead? We have decided to repurpose it. The Emotion Scanner 3000 is now the Emotion Scanner 2950, and it is being used to calibrate coffee temperatures in the station's cafeteria. It seems to be thriving in a less emotionally complex environment. Marcus grinned. So I killed your career project and now it makes coffee. You did not kill it. You simply revealed its limitations. There is a difference. Dr. Velix paused, his feathers ruffling in what might have been embarrassment. I have been reading more about human psychology. I do not understand it. I likely never will. But I think I am starting to respect it. That might be the nicest thing an alien has ever said to me. Your species carries impossible weight and somehow does not collapse. That is either admirable or insane. I have not decided which. Can be both. Dr. Velix nodded slowly. I have one question, and you do not have to answer if you prefer not to. Shoot. Does it get easier? The grief. Does it lessen over time? Marcus looked at the photo of Lily stuck to his console. She was wearing a paper crown, making a ridiculous face at the camera. It had been 7 years since that photo was taken. 7 years since she died. And looking at it still hurt. Still made his chest tight and his throat close up. No, he said honestly. It does not get easier. You just get stronger at carrying it. Some days it is a boulder. Some days it is a pebble. But it is always there. And I do not want it to go away because she should not be forgotten. She should take up space in the universe even if she is not physically here anymore. So I carry her with me, in the stupid jokes, in the way I take my coffee, in the fact that I am still here, still flying, still living. That is her legacy. And it is mine. Dr. Velix was quiet for a moment. Thank you for explaining. I still do not understand. But I think I understand why I do not understand, if that makes sense. It really does not. But I appreciate the effort. Safe travels, Marcus Webb. Try not to break any more expensive equipment. No promises, Doc. The call ended. Marcus sat in his pilot's chair, looking at the star chart displayed in front of him. 3 weeks of hauling medical supplies to colony worlds. Boring work, safe work. The kind of work that let his mind wander, which was dangerous and necessary in equal measure. He reached out and touched the photo of Lily one more time. Still not boring, kiddo, promise. Then he fired up the engines and pointed his ship toward the stars. Somewhere on Station Kepler 9, the Emotion Scanner 2950 successfully heated a cup of coffee to exactly 71.5 degrees Celsius. It was the first time in days it had completed a task without having an existential crisis. Progress, the Galactic Council decided, came in many forms, and somewhere in the database of human psychology, now flagged with approximately 47 warning labels, a single note had been added to Marcus Webb's file. Subject displays functional grief response. Emotional complexity beyond standard measurement. Recommend observation only. Do not attempt intervention. Human standard psychology applies. Prognosis. He will be fine. Probably. Humans are difficult to kill, emotionally or otherwise. Below that, in smaller text, someone had added an unofficial note. Seriously though, do not try to scan humans again. It is not worth it. Just let them do their weird grief thing. They have been doing it for thousands of years and they are somehow still here. That has to count for something. Marcus would have appreciated that note if he had ever seen it. But he was already 3 jumps away from Kepler 9, singing along badly to a sad song from Earth's 21st century, crying and laughing at the same time, carrying his daughter with him into the dark. Because that is what humans do. They break. They heal. They carry their dead. They keep flying. And somehow, impossibly, they call that living. The galaxy was still trying to figure out if that was brilliance or madness. Humans had long since stopped caring about the distinction,